Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is Jacob, 116. I'm here with Nolan. Hey, Nolan.
Hey, Jacob, how's it going?
Good. I wanted to introduce the audience to Nolan. He is going to be joining us as a new co-host. So I'm super excited to have a team that keeps expanding here, and really cool to see the community grow. But I'll let Nolan introduce himself, and
Yeah, so as we have established here, I'm Nolan. Thank you for the introduction, Jacob. I have been a longtime fan of this podcast, and it was one of the few things that helped me through my addiction and helped me make it to the other side. So I appeared on the podcast, I believe it's episode 86, and shared my story there. But a while after that episode, I'd done enough work in the community that I just kind of figured this was the next step. And I absolutely love what everyone's done on this podcast. So I'm super happy to be a part of it.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say. Yeah, super excited to have Nolan come on board. You know, the team keeps growing, which has been really good. And I'm just really thankful that you thought of us, because there's so many different ways you can contribute to the Kratom and general recovery community. So thank you for volunteering your time and being willing to be a part of this merry band, if you will.
It is a very merry band indeed, and I'm super happy to be a part of it. I just really enjoyed listening to all the different hosts and their stories as well. And that's one of the things that's actually helpful as well, because being a part of this podcast helps your own recovery in a way. Even though I don't get cravings often anymore, maybe once a month, I'll have a little thought that pops up into my head. But interviewing all these people is definitely therapeutic, because you're continually reminded of the reasons that you quit and the reasons that the hosts quit and how they're doing after the fact.
Yeah, totally. It allows us to do all those things. We get to stay connected on an almost daily basis. What people don't see behind the scenes is the planning and coordination and all that. So even that's a helpful reminder, because there's always someone that you can talk to if you're feeling down, or if you want to share something cool or whatever. So it's really beneficial in that way. And listeners, you can get that too. There's group chats. There's so many different forums now. We have all kinds of different information on our website and links to other websites with even more information. So check those out if you haven't, and find a little niche of this community where you can, get what you need and also give back in a way when you're ready. All right, we are going to do something fun tonight. We often talk about serious, important things, which we'll continue to do. But this weekend in the United States, we have the Super Bowl. It's the Eagles versus the Chiefs, maybe? Is that it? I don't know. I can't remember.
I couldn't tell you. I was a rower, so I can't. I think that's the last. I'm the least qualified.
Well, as you can see, sports fans, your two hosts here may not be the most informed on American football. But what we are informed about is commercials. So I think most of our listeners are based in the United States, but in the event that you're not, the Super Bowl typically has lots of advertisements that you have to pay a hefty amount of money for. So what we were going to do is riff on some ads that maybe we could put out there that are a little more truthful about Kratom. So I'll get going. I think for my first ad, it would probably go something like this. Are you looking for a plant-based alternative to that unhealthy booze you're drinking? Are you looking to unwind and relax? Well, boy, do we have a product for you. Try this product, and don't worry when your hair falls out in clumps, you're sick every single morning, and you don't understand why you have Parkinson's-like shaking that doesn't go away. Try it, and you're gonna love it.
I loved that, and I think it would fit really well in this current Super Bowl. And I definitely didn't look up who's playing, but hypothetically, if I were to have looked it up, the results would say that it's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles.
I was right.
You were right.
Sports fans, I was right.
Sports fans, he was right, and he deserves to be recognized for it. So I loved that. I've also been thinking about what a good Kratom Super Bowl advert might look like.
Okay.
So I've been working on my Super Bowl voice, and
Oh man, I'm excited.
You're excited, and it kind of reminds me of those movie trailers from the early 2010s where you go like, "This summer." Do you remember?
I'm familiar with that genre of movie trailer.
Yeah. So, have you ever been curious about herbal remedies in your mom's supplement cabinet, but they just weren't enough like opiates to be appealing? Fear not. Don't want to buy a new couch because it's uncomfortable? Instead of replacing the couch, replace it with Kratom. At a low price of a few years of intense dependency and hair loss, it's the safe bet for any household. So that's my advert.
I thought that was a great one.
You liked
a great one. I think if I could give you some feedback, I don't know that much about marketing, but I would use the words, "It could steal your soul," somewhere in there. So it's like real grabbing. You know, you want to get the potential customer's attention is, I think, what they teach in marketing classes.
I think the opening shot would be of kind of not a Grim Reaper, but kind of a very shadowy figure walking on stage, kind of ready to steal people's souls. Something like that.
Yeah, I think that could be a really good ad. Do you know anyone in advertising we could pitch that to?
I actually do.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, this started as a joke, but maybe this coming to you soon.
This
you never know.
Get real. Yeah. And then some other popular themes if there are any advertisers out there or marketers with Super Bowl commercial leverage, here's a few topics for your consideration. One, a selling point of Kratom might be the kind of immeasurable constipation you might experience.
Yes.
So kind of, if you were to slot that into a Super Bowl commercial, you could kind of have, maybe a member of the Kansas City Chiefs hawking a football towards the end zone, right? And then before someone catches it at the end zone, you could have someone, maybe on their toilet saying, "Oh, you thought there was going to be a goal? The real goal here is constipation, and Kratom can help you find that."
Yeah, that could work. I think that could work.
I'm not so sure.
Well,
I'm not so sure. Did you have any other ideas?
I do, but I'm gonna be honest. I think they're all pretty bad. So I think nothing is reserved for the cutting room floor. Well, let's see. Do you like wonderfully disgusting brown tasting liquid? What it doesn't lack in taste, it does make up for in negative effects. Those negative effects have already been highlighted, so I don't have to repeat them, but you're getting the point here.
Have you ever wanted to sit on your couch not thinking about anything for extended periods of time?
Have you ever wanted to watch YouTube videos for things about nothing that you could possibly care about?
Yes. Are you wondering where your last 4 hours have gone? Yeah,
I am actually.
I am too. I kind of wonder what happened.
Well, we could probably riff on this all night, but you get the point. So we're just highlighting the negative effects that can come with Kratom addiction. If you're listening to this podcast, you've probably experienced some yourself. So hopefully that was entertaining. We do have an interview, though. It's Nolan's first interview. I think you sat down with Brandon?
Yeah. We were introduced to Brandon because Brandon is friends with someone else that works in the kind of adjacent Kratom quitting industry. I believe it's Emily from Quit K. Cool. I sat down with Brandon and had a wonderful interview. He reminded me because he lives in Idaho the time that I went to Coeur d'Alene and grounded a jet ski, and the rental company will no longer let me back. So Brandon thankfully helped remind me of that. So I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, that's going to be fun. This is an episode that's hopefully going to be a little bit fun. So we'll get onto that interview, and you'll hear a lot more from Nolan. And keep it Kratom free, everybody.
All right, we have Brandon here. Thank you for joining us on the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. let's get started. So how would you introduce yourself? So maybe to someone you've just met?
Yeah. So my name is Brandon. I live up in North Idaho. I've got 3 kids and an amazing wife. Live up in beautiful North Idaho.
Man, is there a lot of recreation up there? Or?
Oh yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, whatever you want to do. If it's winter sports or water sports or dirt bikes,
awesome.
hunting, fishing, all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, so can you tell us a bit about when you first encountered Kratom and maybe when you first tried it?
It was quite a while ago, obviously, but I kept seeing this stuff popping up at all these grocery stores and gas stations. And it didn't say anything on it. It just said, social lubrication and things like that. And one thing that piqued my interest was I think the University of Texas was like endorsing it, and the USC was endorsing it. One day I was in the line at the grocery store with my oldest daughter, and I saw these 2 people that I know came in to just buy that. And I thought it was really odd because they both paid separately, right? So it's like a married couple, but she's spending her $20, he's spending his $20. I thought that was odd, but I was like, oh, I'll try it out. Yeah. As soon as I got in the truck, I drank half of this thing, and there it went.
So you'd say it was as quick as that for you to become pretty fond of it?
Well, yeah. I mean, a little backstory. I've had some opiate dependencies quite a while ago, and when the Kratom hit my system, it was just like that. And
Kratom has a tendency to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It did. Yep. I mean, it was like 12 years since I've felt that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
I'm sure we'll get into that a bit more later on in the episode, but it does tend to be pretty unassuming when it's on the shelves. And I think that's a problem we encounter a lot is we hear people come on and there isn't any adequate information on the packaging about risk of dependence, risk of addiction, and that can lead a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't have tried it in the first place.
Right.
But moving on, so how did your usage progress? Did it start small and did you work your way up? How did that happen for you?
Yeah, it started pretty small. And I hate to even say this, but like that first moment I did it, I knew this was going to become a problem. So it started pretty small, and every once in a while would get one and make it last like 2 days kind of thing, right? Probably after a couple of months of that, it escalated quickly because then I started to notice withdrawals, and I don't like those. Yeah, it went from one every couple of days to probably 7 or 8 a day.
Yeah, it can happen. It can happen pretty quickly, can't it?
Oh yeah, very quickly.
So you mentioned that after the first one, you knew that it was going to become a problem for you.
Right.
Later down the line, as your usage progressed, was there a moment where you kind of said to yourself, man, I've really got to quit, or man, this isn't sustainable?
Really, honestly, the moment was I was hiding them, had to make sure that I had enough if we took a trip or whatever. I was hiding them from my wife and lying about them. There was a moment there that she just said enough's enough, so I tried to do different things, but it didn't just stop there. So it just made me become more sneakier for a while.
The same thing happened to me, and I'm sure has happened to a lot of people. It's so difficult to tell anyone about it. I think there's a lot of shame involved because we don't want to open up to anyone close to us about this habit. Right. And then when we eventually do, it might be tough, as I'm sure it was for you when that all happened.
Yeah.
But I guess in the long run, it can be pretty healthy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and at that point, I didn't really know as much about Kratom as I do now. And, my excuse to my wife all the time is like, I get it from the gas station. I mean, it's clearly not good, but it can't be that bad.
That's one of the tricky things about it is just how available it is. If you can go in and you can get your Snickers bar at the gas station and right next door, get something that like that. Yeah. But moving on, when did you decide to stop, or when did you decide that you needed to quit?
I decided probably too late, but it was obviously her and then my children. I always try to lead by example, and my kids are athletes and I'm telling them to do this and do that. And here I am over here hiding something. So I was on a job site and I decided I needed to figure out a way to do this. And I reached out to some friends and they helped as well. So
you had a good support system in place?
I did, yeah. After, like you just said, we came clean and talked about it and, actually opened it up, say I need help. I did, for sure.
So how did you go about it? How did you quit? Did you go cold turkey or did you taper, or what was your...
I tried to taper. I tried cold turkey, and that was miserable. I mean, it's really addictive, and it's, the detoxing of it is way more significant than I thought it would ever be. I mean, I remember laying in bed for 3 or 4 days and then just saying, hell with it. I got to go get one of these things. And I reached out to a friend of mine, and she's the one that turned us on to your podcast. So I would listen to those and just kind of went on like a cycle of a couple of months of just on again, off again, trying to figure this out. And she actually sent me a link to supplements. And so I went and bought all these supplements, and like, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. So I did, took all these supplements she recommended for a morning and a daytime, and was doing all that, which randomly is now called Quick K. And that was before then. So she was really helpful, and I tried to do it. And finally I just said, I got to figure something else out. So that same friend of ours actually turned me on to a place here locally that knows a lot about Kratom and the Kratom addiction, and ended up getting on Suboxone for it.
So you found that was a much more effective treatment to suit your needs?
I did. Yeah, I did. I mean, obviously, it was kind of like a 1 week at a time deal, and it'd work for that week, and then it probably screwed up, and day 2 after that week. And I kind of did that a couple of times. Finally, the last time I was just like, I'm done. That has its own course as well, though. The Suboxone isn't. It helped with the pains and the withdrawal kind of thing. There's also some side effects after the Suboxone that aren't always good either. So
yeah, there's 2 sides to that coin, certainly. But it's really, really good to hear that that's helped you and that's mainstream information. I know a lot of people are like you, really wanting to quit from the comfort of their own home, because I know it can be scary. And you said that you have a prior history with substances. It can be scary to try to undertake quitting a substance like Kratom from home.
Oh, absolutely.
What would you say was the hardest part of your withdrawals before you went into medicated assisted treatment?
It was everything from the night sweats, the leg pains, the shaking, the mental fog was just crazy. Yeah, I just felt completely useless for like 3 or 4 days. Like I couldn't move or do anything, eat. I lost 45 pounds on this stuff.
45 pounds?
Yeah.
Man.
45 pounds, yeah. Yeah, I went to a friend's wedding, and some of their friends that were there were looking at me, and I could see them talking about me. And, here I am like, no, I'm not that skinny. Oh, I was.
That is wild.
I looked like a walking skeleton.
Man,
yeah,
hopefully you put that back on.
Yep. I put a little bit on it. Now I'm actually able to manage it, not be as heavy as that.
That's good.
Was, so.
My cat needs to lose some weight if you have any connections. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep on moving here. So have you had any relapses? What does your history look like with that?
Since when I finally said enough was enough, and that was it. I, kind of took on most of this last year and really dove deep into work and just tried to keep myself busy. Obviously, still see the stuff all over the place, but now it's just like, I'm not going down that road again.
Have you found that all of the discomfort you had to go through to get off the stuff is really preventing you from ever trying it again? Is that maybe part of it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Like I've said, I'm not a fan of the withdrawals. They're hard, and they're hard to do by yourself, and they're hard to do, especially without a support system. Yeah, they're
absolutely tough. That's one of the things that's keeping me off of it, as well as just wanting to live my life the way it is. Cause it turns out you can be happy without it, but it's just not wanting to go through any of that again.
Yeah.
So now you said that you immerse yourself in work, and, you're on the job site. And do you find that distracting yourself helps a lot to get rid of the cravings, or do you still have cravings? What's your experience with those? And
I don't have cravings anymore. Those are finally gone. There was a couple places that I was working that it wasn't even available whatsoever. And so that really helped. But yeah, the cravings are gone. And like I said, it's just not for me anymore. So, yep, keeping yourself busy. I mean, if you have something you can do, like work, like most everybody has a job, if they just dive into it. My children are the same thing. My wife just went, all in for them. Like, keep myself as busy as possible.
That's a really good piece of advice. And I think, have you found that since being off of Kratom, you've kind of reinvested in areas of your life that you weren't as invested in while you were on it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, multiple areas of my life for sure. That's, went back, amended relationships, whatever it was, to try to, say, hey, here we are. We're going to do this together, whatever. Being honest with people that you may have not been.
For people that are thinking of quitting, or maybe who are trying to quit and haven't quite gotten to the end of that, the light at the end of the tunnel, what would your advice be to them, or a reason that you would give them to quit, or how would you tell them you should do it?
I think for me, the supplements really helped. Like I got on those and kind of let them get into my system before really trying. And I still take a lot of those today. And the supplements really helped. And if you're even thinking about it, this stuff's poison. Who knows what the long-term effects of this are going to be? And just, like I said, find a support system, be honest with yourself, be honest with everybody else, and go do it. And if that means you need to go get on Suboxone or whatever, just know that it's going to help. But also on that is just be careful with it.
Absolutely. That's a really good piece of advice. Yeah. When you were using Kratom, what do you think it was that drew you to it so much? Was it just the feeling of wanting to be on it? Was it something else?
It was the feeling. Yep. It's like any other drug. You feel like you're being a lot more productive than you probably really are. You probably feel like you're more social than you probably really are. And it's just something that triggered something in my head that said, this is fantastic.
Absolutely. And there's lots of things that people convince themselves that they're taking it for. I'm a good example of this. I thought, it'll help me go on a run. It'll help me get outside.
Yeah.
And truth be told, it was allowing me to run a lot harder and further than I otherwise should have been. So I was getting injured 90% more often.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't helping me get any fitter. It was just helping me kind of abuse my body because of the analgesic effects of it. So I think a lot of people get into a situation where they use it initially because they believe it's going to make them more social, instead of kind of finding that place within themselves to say, hey, what can I work through in my own personal life to overcome that kind of fear?
Well, and I would say, as far as the social thing, like, yes, it probably does in the beginning, but if you get too deep into this stuff, you will find that you are very antisocial and you will find yourself alone. And so, yeah, it does for a little bit, and then it just takes you downhill fast.
It definitely does. And it's very easy to mindlessly, scroll through content or consume TV, documentaries. Everything becomes a lot easier if you're in your bed, which is one of the reasons why quitting it is so great. So how is your life off of Kratom? I know you mentioned that your personal relationships are thriving. You're a bit more invested in work, I can assume. Is there any other area of your life that you'd say that being off of Kratom has improved?
Oh, yeah, just close personal relationships, my family relationship, being able to be present is a huge. It's so much better. I was on it for a good solid year, and just, everything is completely changed. The sun's brighter.
That is great to hear.
Yeah.
And I know that when you were probably in the midst of your withdrawals, being able to hear yourself say that now would have been so amazing. But I'm sure when you were in the middle of your withdrawals, that probably felt like the last thing you'd ever be saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. I thought I would just be here by myself.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Would you like to see any sort of change as to how these products are marketed or produced or shown to the world?
Absolutely. I think there needs to be Probably the FDA needs to probably be looking into this a lot more. It's just so readily available for even, my kids. My kids could probably get this stuff if they really wanted to. Some laws probably need to pass, and I'm sure maybe at some point it will. But we've also seen the effects of opiates in the past. People make money and they just keep making money. So, but yeah, I would love to see some different marketing, even a sign that says, hey, this can be addictive, right? It doesn't even say that
At the
on
very
these things.
least, something like that would be really helpful. I know there's nothing in a head shop or smoke shop, especially with powdered kratom, that really differentiates it from just a regular supplement. So if you head in there and you see something that's been marketed to you as a social lubricant that's herbal, natural, organic, it's part of this beautiful green earth and it has arisen naturally from the ground and it's the perfect solution to everything, then I think you'd be hard pressed to not want to buy it. And I think that if, like you said, there's more information, not just on the packaging, but regulatory information that can be presented to consumers, the better. So you mentioned that you had some prior run-ins with substances in the past. What did that look like for you?
Well, it was a long road, kind of the pain pill type of stuff. But really, it was probably 8 months of hell that finally took me down. And that's when I checked into rehab at that point. The greatest thing I ever did in my life, besides this as well. So it was bad. It was the opiates, and those as well made me lose about 45, 50 pounds too. So
how would you compare your withdrawals from your time in rehab with the pain pills to kratom?
The rehab or the withdrawals are the same. They're exactly the same to me. I mean, it's all the same feelings, the leg cramps, the headaches, the sweating, it's exactly the same. You're just sick, right? You are sick. The only thing I would say that would be a little bit different was maybe the time with the over-the-counter stuff versus kratom. Not over-the-counter, but kratom seemed to be a little bit shorter, but also was longer in the head fog than the other substances. So I guess they're about the same.
This might be definitely a leading question, but how would you respond to someone that says that kratom is as addictive as coffee or something along the lines of that? Because there is a lot of speech in the community that kind of toes that line. How would you respond to someone who would say something like that?
I mean, I could stop drinking coffee right now. So, I mean, the kratom is, in my opinion, 1,000% more addictive than coffee. I
agree. There's a tendency, especially for the people who kratom has helped, whether that be people that are in chronic pain or that have sought it out as an alternative form of treatment, to defend it using that kind of language, when I think in reality it's kind of hurting their cause more than it's helping it at the end of the day, because it's allowing a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have tried kratom to come on board, try it out, and then realized way too late that statement isn't holding water.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say to that, possibly extra that I would say to that, is kratom is just as easy to get as coffee is.
I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you. And I would argue that I've seen kratom come in a wider variety of packaging and types than coffee does. I see coffee in caffeine pills, I see it in tea, and I see it in my beans. Yeah. Kratom, you have gummies, bars, tonics, powders, pills, and I'm sure I've only used one of my hands, one of 5 of my fingers, and I'm sure I could use more fingers. Right. It reminds me a lot of when some of the vape products came to market in the 2010s that were marketed to kids. Kind of Cool Cucumber was one of the flavors that one such company was touting. And I think that it's a problem that it's already coming in these more palatable forms. so that it is more attractive to people in the 18 to 21 age range.
100%. They give it. I've seen some that taste like mints, just regular mints you take, when your breath stinks or whatever, and people just popping those. I mean,
it's wild. I'm good with Altoids now. I'm set. Yeah, I'm good with Altoids. What's your winter like up there?
Right now, it's cold, really cold. We're probably in the mid-20s. Usually this time of year we have a lot more snow, but it's been a really mild winter so far, which means we'll probably get it on the back end of it. Yeah, it's been really cold.
I can't relate. I'm in Northern California, so I can't. Yeah.
Okay.
Can't relate to that.
Yeah.
I can't relate to that. So do you take advantage of said recreation that you spoke so highly of earlier?
Oh, absolutely. The whole family skis and snowboards. Love to go do that, especially in the wintertime, in the spring, summer, fall. My son and I are from September on to like November hunting, in different types. We're right next to the lake, so we're always on the lake swimming, and yeah.
You guys do any fishing out there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we do a lot of fishing too.
I used to have this idea that Idaho was flat. That changed. That changed.
Have you been here?
I went to Coeur d'Alene, and that's pretty much it.
That's where I'm at.
Oh, no way. Yeah. So
yep.
I did a day on the lake with my family, and that was fantastic. And ran a jet ski aground that was a rental. So fun memories from Coeur d'Alene. They don't want me back there anytime soon. Anywhere near a jet ski.
Come up anytime, man.
Of course.
Yeah.
Let's see a little bit more on the Kratom while I've got you here. Did you find that it was having a big financial impact on you when you were heavily into your usage?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was probably averaging $75 a day on this stuff for months and months at a time.
And would you go in to buy it from a local shop, or would you buy it online? Or
I've never bought it online. The local shop just down the road from me, I've known the guy for a long time. It's just a gas station, right? Go in there, get gas and that kind of stuff. Finally was able to talk him into like, hey, if I buy this much, you give me a discount kind of thing. So we had that set up, and I just buy cases at a time, every couple of days.
You're not alone. Yep. I saw a post on Reddit the other day. There's a great subreddit called quitting the Kava Kratom tonic. Someone had posted that they'd spent, I think it was about $16,000 US dollars in just a year of having used it. So it's really amazing how quickly that can add up.
Oh yeah. Maybe I'll try to do that. Maybe I'll do a little back digging and see how much money I actually spent. It'd probably scare me to death, but yeah, it adds up quick. I know some of the other things, the concentrates and whatnot, I never really did get into, but I know, they're expensive. They're very expensive.
Does it feel nice to have a heavier wallet after the fact?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. You get a little bit more money to invest in these said relationships and family, and got a boy is about ready to head out for college. So I'm glad that addiction has stopped to help him get what he needs to do. Yeah, save a lot of money, a lot. Like you said, 16,000. That wouldn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't surprise me either, and it's definitely the Kava Kratom tonics tend to run quite a bit higher in the price range, and I think that tends to be one of the biggest things that I notice online as one of the things that people are confronted with is the financial impact. All of a sudden, they can't afford their tuna melt from their local spot anymore because it's being replaced with a little bottle of tonic.
I absolutely did that. I would, kind of had this own budget of what I was going to do. Well, all the things that I would spend money on before, whether it be lunch or dinner or kid stuff or whatever, that all went to the side. And I just focused on this pile of money is all going to this. I robbed from my family, pretty much is what happened. It was a burden.
It feels like you have I mentioned this before, and I know you mentioned it, that you had a pretty close relationship with your immediate family and your friends. How did you take advantage of any other resources like forums or this podcast? Was there anything else that helped or that you would recommend to other people?
This podcast definitely helped, because it kind of sheds a light on you're not alone. I'm not a big of a meeting guy, I guess you'd say. I got usually a pretty busy schedule, so it's hard to, I guess, hit meetings. But meetings do help. I mean, I did those back in 2012, and they were very good for me. Because there again, you're going to find people that make you not alone. So the podcast is great. I mean, research. I mean, you can type that into Google, and sky's the limit. If you like to read and all that, I mean, there's so many things out there now that, and it's just bringing light to other people's stories. That's all we can do in life really is learn from our mistakes or even other people's mistakes.
That's a really good piece of advice. And also, it's very common to hear that it's too late. I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm too that. And I think that it's a pretty harmful mindset if you're going to put yourself in that box and prevent yourself from making that kind of progress. I know it was the case for me that when I quit, I had a pretty heavy addiction. I was at, over 30 grams of powdered Kratom a day. So it was, morning I'd take a tablespoon, and then, 7 more times I'd be taking a tablespoon throughout the day. But what I noticed when I quit is that it put me in a really unique position to say, I can make a huge change in my life right now. And I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but quitting Kratom or kava tonics can act as a kind of catalyst to improve other areas of your life because you're on a roll. You say, I'm going to quit this. I'm going to do better at that. And I feel like you help yourself in so many ways by doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to get that snowball effect. And it's just one thing I learned a long time ago. And I tell myself this all the time, if you do the right thing keeps happening. Right. And it's easier to do the wrong thing than it is the right thing. So just, you gotta exercise that and just stay focused.
That's a great quote. You said it's easier to do the wrong thing than it is the right thing.
Yep, absolutely.
That is a really great quote. And it's so hard for people to convince themselves that quitting or a decision like that is the right thing at the time. Because your whole mental ecosystem is directly working against you. You have the cravings, you have the fear of the withdrawals, you have the fear of the shame of telling your immediate loved ones and your family. So there are just so many impasses that are preventing you from, accomplishing it. So getting over that is the biggest thing. Did you find that it was difficult to muster up the willpower to not only tell people that you were doing it or quitting, but kind of to tell yourself that too, to reckon with the addiction?
It was really tough. And I think what probably saved me and helped me was, my wife she was on it. She's like a bloodhound. And when she started noticing this, then she's digging through all my stuff. And, like I said, one day that things were pretty bad. And that's when it really clicked, like, okay, I got to tell her. I can't keep lying about it. She already knows. So what's the point of even trying to hide it? And so just being able to finally open up and it feels like you just poured your heart out, and it's a great feeling. And once you get that part rolling, you just start going
and keep going. Yeah, definitely. And does it feel good not having that weight on your chest anymore? And not only that, does it feel good not having that shame that you were talking about anymore? Not the shame, but the
100%. Yep. No, 100%. It's like I said, it's easy to do the wrong thing, So if you're at this point and, and it's a problem, and that it's affecting loved ones or friends or just work or whatever it is, then you already know you're doing the wrong thing. So just dive in.
All right. Couple questions for fun. I came up with this today. I'm just curious to hear your answer. If you had to pick one food to eat for the rest of your life, what do you think it would be?
Oh, can it be cheese?
It can be cheese. Yes.
All right, I'm going with cheese. Yep.
Is there a specific type of cheese?
No, not really.
No, cheddar, American cheese, mozzarella. That's fair.
Yep.
That's fair.
Yep.
I think from a practical experience, I hear a lot of people say watermelon because they're concerned about not getting the hydration. you might not get that from cheese.
Okay.
Anyway, that's probably the first and only
Give it a
time
shot.
I'll ask that question. I just want to see how it will go. And then let's see, have you been wanting to travel recently, or is there anywhere you've been wanting to go or do or see?
Well, I actually just got back from Hawaii. We went there with the family, just the five of us over Christmas break, and that was a blast. I love to travel. We probably don't travel enough. We got kids that range from 18 to 10, so there's a lot of sports and activities that are always going on. But usually once a year we try to go. I would love to go to Costa Rica.
Yeah, my mom, she went to Costa Rica and she just got back from Argentina. She went to Patagonia and she said that it was the best trip she's ever taken. So anywhere in that part of the world sounds just gorgeous. And the fishing up there, she went up there on a fly fishing trip specifically for fly fishing.
Oh, nice.
So she said that it was great fun.
Yeah, really anywhere. I mean, you could send me to Ireland or, anywhere. I'd love to check. I'd love to see some of that. There's plenty of places in the United States that I haven't seen yet either. So kind of on my wife and I's bucket list of let's try to hit some of these other places. So
I used to want to go to New York all the time, Manhattan. And then after I lived there for a couple of years, I said, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just fine.
That's my wife just told me the other night that she'd love to spend Christmas in New York. I was like, I don't know. It'd be a tough one.
Yeah. And you've got, especially during Christmas time, you've got these people that stand out in Times Square. Most of the time they're dressed as Spider-Man. So people want to take pictures of them. The problem is they charge for the photos. So if you take a picture of them without their consent, they will chase you down to collect their payment. So that happened to me around Christmas time last year in New York, as I took a picture of this Spider-Man and he chased me for a couple blocks. And I thought it was really, I thought that was pretty wild. Yeah. Is there anything that I didn't ask or cover that you're wanting to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I kind of covered quite a bit of that mess that I was in. Yeah, no, I think I'm good.
Yeah, Brandon, well, thanks for joining us. Really appreciated you sharing your story. There were a lot of really good tips, and it was really nice to hear that. It was very refreshing.
I'm very appreciative that you guys had me on. It's a great podcast. I think spread the word. I've told many people about it. It helps. Like I said before, just knowing that you're not the only one.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for all that. No. Well, I guess until next time.
No. All right, brother. Appreciate it.